Hi, I'm Nate Gunderson, and I'm here for another episode of Squawk Talk. And today we have a very, very special episode because we have Officer Reed here with us today.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about some very important stuff and police officer stuff, and we're going to be asking Officer Reed some questions today. So
Sounds great.
yeah.
Great. All right. Officer Reed, so everyone's been hearing, you got a promotion, and that you're going to be leaving us soon. Unfortunately, are you wanting to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. It was a process that I've actually been in for the past several years, putting in for sergeant with the police department. So what that entails for me is actually having a patrol team that I am responsible for, and we'll be out in the streets and patrolling and taking calls, and they'll report to me. It's bittersweet for me to leave Latham North. I love it here. I love being the SRO here. But this is an opportunity that's something I've been working towards for a long time, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah,
Yes.
congratulations. That's awesome for you because, I know we all loved having you here, and you're an SRO, but I know we're all also happy that you got promoted and got that job. So yeah,
Pretty excited.
it's good for you.
Well, that means everyone's got to watch out because, he might get you.
Might get us. What exactly made you go about wanting to be a police officer in the first place?
Well, I mean, it's real basic for me. I wanted to help people. When I actually got into law enforcement, I started my career actually in a jail, and I had a lot of contact with police officers, and they would come in and tell me the stories of things they were doing on the street and people they were interacting with, and I thought, yeah, man, that's something I want to do. Went through the process with several different agencies. Initially landed with Kansas City, Missouri, before coming over to Olathe.
Okay.
And then, the rest is history. I worked about 4 or 5 years on the street here, and then came to the school. Been here for 5 years at Olathe North. It's been pretty awesome. So, but yeah, basically I wanted to help people, and this was a good place to do that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. So.
Hey, you say you were on the streets and then you came to the school. Is there a different process you have to do to become a school SRO, or is it kind of just?
Yeah, so every department may be a little bit different, but typically, like if you want to move to a specialized unit within your police department, you have to spend so much time on patrol. And so for Olathe, I think you had to spend like 3 years on patrol, and then there's a interview process, and then there's a selection process. So they sit you down in front of a panel of people, usually a couple of sergeants, the school safety director for the school district, and they ask you some questions, and you have to give a presentation. And then after all that, they'll select you. So they kind of rank you 1 through however many people put in, and then if you're selected first, then you go to the position. So it's an interview process after you've already been interviewed.
So I know with everything that's been going on the past few years and coming to light, it's a very hard subject with the George Floyd death and police brutality and stuff like that. I know that's a very hard subject, but I was just wondering, what's it like being an African-American man and as well as a police officer? Like, what are some hardships that you faced?
Well, I'll tell you, this is a question I get asked a lot, especially by friends and family. And I'll tell you, the answer that I give, I have to look through the lens of being African American first. I've been that my whole life. But I also have to look through the lens of being a law enforcement officer when these things happen. So it's kind of a balancing act. Sometimes some of the things I see is hard to see, hard to watch. But then other times I'm saying, yeah, I understand why that happened the way it happened. So, typically for me, when I see a situation to where, like a George Floyd or something like that, my initial reaction is, as African American, to look at it that way. And then I kind of start going through my police part of it, and like, okay, what did they do here? What did they do here? What did they do wrong? What could they have done better? Things like that. But my initial response is always as African American first and police officer second, because that's who I am in this country, and one black male. So,
yeah, that's a very good answer. I mean, that kind of enlightens us. How I know that would be very difficult, especially from your position, and it's just, I think it's also really cool that you, like you mentioned earlier, you said you wanted to help people, And I think that's awesome that you became a police officer to help people. And I feel like police officers a lot of time get a bad rap because of that. And something that I've heard a lot and that I kind of believe is that like obviously experiencing with you. I mean, I know you're a good dude and police officers, and I know there's something going on in this nation where a lot of people tend to hate the police. And in my opinion, personally, I don't feel like it's the majority of police, like not at all. I feel like the majority of police are good people, like probably like 95% of the police are good people, probably more like 99, and then there's just a few people who mess up, and that's what happens, and it happens frequently in this country. And
I'll say, just with any job, you're going to have good employees and bad employees. It's just in our profession, when someone messes up, someone can die or get hurt or seriously injured. So that's why that spotlight is even more so on us, right? But yeah, I think on a majority, police officers are out there doing the job they're supposed to be doing, serving and protecting, answering those calls, serving their communities, and things of that nature, and then you have these situations that happen that puts the spotlight on unfortunate things that happen.
Right.
Maybe some folks that maybe should not be in the profession. So, and that's true with any profession. You're going to have good and bad employees. Like I said, just with our profession, if we mess up, something seriously bad could happen. So we kind of got to be on our P's and Q's all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
You said, of course the job comes with good and bads, and you said you wanted to help people. Has there ever been a situation, you don't have to go in detail or anything, where it made you almost want to give up the job? Or?
Well, I will tell you, personally, for me, kind of when these things started coming to light and, you get more of the cell phone footage, and it was more of a personal thing, like when my family members and friends would ask me, why are you still a police officer after all these things are happening, right? How could you be a police officer when this has happened? And my response to that is, like, if you get rid of all the good police officers, what are you left with? So, and that's why I kind of stick around. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but, I think I do a decent job.
Yeah, I'd say he does a pretty good job, too, because he doesn't want to toot his own horn, but I know all of us at Olathe North, we will toot his horn for him, because he's done an amazing job here, and I know he cares about the students, and he looks out for us, and it's just been an honor and a blessing to have you here at Olathe North. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Say if you're going out to be more in traffic, we can talk about like more traffic, high school driver kind of stuff. And
yeah, so we can talk about, one of the big topics that we have, people want to talk about is car stops. How should I behave on a car stop? What can officers do on car stops? What can't they do? When can they search my car? When can't they search my car? Do I have to get out of the car? Those types. That's kind of a big thing because, you got drivers that are teenagers that are just getting into driving, and they get that first interaction with, I ran a stop sign and now I'm getting pulled over. What are my rights on this car stop? So that's kind of a big one that we can talk about.
That sounds really good. Because the first time I got pulled over, I cried. So I thought that was, oh my God.
That's not an uncommon reaction. That's not an uncommon reaction. You get that a lot. People are a little nervous, and so they cry and they're shaking, and we get some folks that are, they just don't know what to do. So it manifests itself in different ways. But I'll tell you what a car stop looks like for me. So if I'm going to stop a vehicle, I'll stop them and I'll walk up to the car, and it could be either on your passenger or on your driver's side, and I'll say, hey, I'm Officer Reed at the police department. The reason I stopped you is because you ran a stop sign there at Santa Fe and Buchanan. And I usually give them a chance to explain what happened. Oh, I'm running late for work or whatever, school, whatever, I didn't see it. And then my next question will be, do you have your driver's license and proof of insurance? Because in Kansas, that's all you need is your driver's license and proof of insurance, valid insurance. So it has to show the beginning date and end date of your insurance has to be within a certain time frame, so current. I'll take that information and go back to my car. At that point, what I'm doing is I'm running your name to make sure you don't have any warrants or wants, or your driver's license is good and all that. So once the dispatch gets back to me and says, yeah, they're good to go, or they have a warrant, or their driver's license suspended, I get that information. So if you're good to go, at that point, then I'll process the ticket. So I may just let you off with a warning, walk back up and say, hey, here's your information back, just make sure you watch out for that stop sign next time. Or if I'm going to write you a ticket, I'll process it, put the information in my car, write a ticket, bring it back to you and say, hey, this is a citation for running the stop sign. Here's a court date, here's some information, you can pay it, you can go to court, things of that nature. Give you all that information, get you on your way. If you have a warrant or in, something like that, then I'll call for a second officer, and then we'll pull you out of the car and say, hey, you have a warrant, give it to us or some other jurisdiction. So it could be in Leawood or Mission or wherever. Typically, with us, we'll give you an opportunity to bond out in the field, which means if you have money, you can pay it right there in the field and you can be on your way, or sometimes we'll take you in front of the judge if it's during those hours, or sometimes we have to take you to jail, depending on what the warrant is or if you don't have money to pay. So we'll do all that. We'll make sure your car is in a safe location. Either you may have to tow it, or if it's in a place where we can just leave it, we'll leave it, grab the keys, and then you'll get to do that process of either going to jail or seeing the judge, or paying your bond there in the field and get you on your way. The thing that comes up for us, what do you think kids most have questions about?
Like, I would say, when can they search the car? When can they stop us? I would say is a big question.
So stopping the car, we have to have some type of infraction or a reason to stop you, okay? It can be for speeding, headlight out, tag light out, brake light out. Maybe we think you're impaired and you're doing this number on the road, or maybe texting and driving, right? So we have to have a reason to stop you, a legal reason, so we'll stop you. Now, to search your vehicle, we have to have cause to do so. That could be the smell of marijuana. There could be something what we call plain view of something illegal in your car. So we look in there and we see something that is illegal, we can search your car. Or you can give us consent to search your car. Or I can get a warrant to search your car. Or I can call a canine, and if they alert, I can search your car. Okay? So those are really some of the biggest reasons why we can search your car. Another question we get asked is, do I have to get out of the vehicle if the police officer asks me or tells me to get out? And the answer to that is legally yes. There's a court case, it's called Pennsylvania v. NIMS, that says the officer can pull you out and your passengers for officer safety in the duration of a traffic stop for officer safety. So this is kind of where people get into trouble. Sometimes they don't believe they have to get out of the car, and then you see situations where officers are dragging them out of the car and things like that. But yes, legally we can ask you to step out of the car and while we complete our citation or whatever for officer safety reasons. So say for instance, if I don't have anything, I don't have smell of anything illegal, dog didn't alert, I don't have anything in plain view, but I still want to search your car, maybe I got some feeling something's going on in there, I can ask you for consent and say, hey, can I search your vehicle? And you say, you know what, yeah, go ahead, I don't have anything in there. So I get to searching your car, and you think like, oh man, I have my buddy in the car, maybe he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do. I want him to stop searching my car. You have the right on a consent search to tell me to stop searching your car.
Okay.
Okay. Only on a consent search.
Only on consent search, yeah.
Correct.
Got it.
So then I'd have to stop searching your car. But if I have any of those other things, I can search your car all day long. And then obviously if we arrest you, we do what we call inventory incident to arrest. So basically that means like if we're going to arrest you, take you to jail, and we're searching through your car and make sure you don't have any valuables or anything like that that we need to take out before we take you to jail, and we come across something illegal, you could kind of get yourself in a little bit of trouble there too. So what I encourage people to do is to go, you guys have Google now, which I didn't have growing up, we had encyclopedias. You can Google this stuff and know what your rights are on traffic stops, so that way if you ever have to encounter law enforcement on a traffic stop, you know what your rights are, and you know what that officer can and can't do, and you know what is expected of you as a driver or passenger of that vehicle. So that is a big one, because a lot of our students are just starting to drive, and they may get a ticket or get pulled over, and they're not sure how to behave.
Right.
Just keep your hands in plain view, follow the instructions of the officer, and just know what your rights are, and I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
thank
and
you.
another big question I see is someone allowed to record the traffic stop? Like that's where I see like a lot of incidents happen where someone, chooses to record what's going on.
Absolutely.
And then failure to comply with like an officer's request or something like that. Like what's
So you as a citizen, you absolutely can record us on your traffic stop. We're recording you, you can record us. Where we get into issues is when we have members of the community, or you get on the phone and say, hey, I just got pulled over, and your friend shows up. Now they want to record us. Now they're in our space where we're working, right? It's not safe. They can record from a public distance, from a sidewalk, across the street all day long, but the minute they step into our space and interfere with our traffic stop or what we're doing, that's when it becomes a problem. And you as a driver absolutely can record us.
Okay.
We're being held accountable with our body cams, and you can record for your purposes too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask a question about that, because I know body cams, I feel like that's amazing. I was wondering if that amazing for citizens and to make sure, but I was also wondering, does that make your job harder in some cases as well?
No, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, it actually makes your job easier, because a lot of times what we find is that there will be an accusation against us for a number of reasons, like, violating some rights, or, unprofessionalism, or whatever. And, we're recording. And so if that complaint comes in and the department investigates, the first thing they're going to do is look at your camera. And a lot of times it's fine to be baseless because we're recording.
Yeah.
So it saves us a lot more than it hurts us. And then again, like I said, it holds us accountable. Like, somebody's going to be watching you, or your supervisor may go back and pull your body cam video. I think you're going to be more apt to do what you're supposed to do on your calls. So,
Right.
Yeah. It saves us more than it hurts us.
That's good. So like anyone that I don't know, but I've heard something the past few years on certain things about how some police officers were like against body cams. So I was just wondering that, and that's why I asked.
Yeah,
that
I
question.
think there might have been a little bit of pushback initially,
Yeah.
but I think once officers started realizing that it was actually saving their butts more than
Yeah.
hurting it,
Yeah.
it was no big deal. It's no less than we have cameras in the school.
Right.
A lot of times where we get reports of this or that, and we just go back with the camera and say, okay, this did or didn't happen. So, and you kind of forget that they're there. I mean, yes, your policy is to turn it on, but it just comes second nature. You turn it on without even thinking about it. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you so much for the interview, and like, obviously we talked about some very important and some very hard stuff today. And also, I think me and Bree want to do this interview with you because we also want our student body and anyone who would watch this to just be aware of all these things, like your rights at a traffic stop and what it's like to be a police officer and some of the hardships he's faced and what his job entails, so that when we do get in these interactions and we do get pulled over, or if we get an interaction with a police officer, we know how to handle it. We do know our rights. We know what we can and we can't do, just so that we can hopefully limit some of these altercations that turn physical or that turn violent, because we just want everyone to know their rights, and we just want obviously peace, and I mean we love Officer Reed here, so we just.
I said very sad to see you go, but a big congratulations
Yeah,
on that
that's
promotion.
awesome.
Something
Congrats.
you've been working for.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much for doing this, and this was Eagles Perch. Have a good day, Eagles.